obviously,
Am I looking anywhere? I'm looking at the camera.
Because it's just camera vision.
So, do you want? Are you going to? Shall I chip in? You can.
Yeah. All right. So
is there a particular place you want me to be looking?
Just look at me, or whoever's. We know Clive's
just
over
off
there.
Camera. Yeah. Just off. I'd say look at Mike, not at camera.
So, yeah. So basically, we're doing this documentary about the scene in Portsmouth and sort of the surrounding areas. And what we're doing, we're just to start a conversation. We're asking kind of filmmakers 3 questions. So, and they're sort of based around sort of a marketing dynamic. So, what we'd like you to do is tell us who you are, what you do. So you could maybe include bits about Slam Screen, or, and also the sort of the more or the less corporate stuff, I suppose. And then why you think that matters, and you can obviously we'll have a conversation as we go. So if you want to sort of introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and then why that's important to you or important to others.
Okay, my name's Riyad Haque. I originally started out as an actor. I'm currently a filmmaker, sort of working within the fictional film realm, but also using corporate work to supplement that. So basically, I make short films because I think there's a story to be told from every filmmaker, every person out there, and I think filmmaking for me is the best way to sort of get that forward.
So do you approach it as an art form, or because obviously when you're doing a corporate, is that the same approach as when you're doing sort of something more, sort of, for want of a better word, arty?
I think every opportunity in film is an opportunity to be creative. I think corporate work, yes, sometimes you have to do it for a paycheck. You are looking to make a certain amount of money to fund a particular film or to earn rent for that week. But I think for me, every time I pick up a camera, I'm looking to do something new, something creative, whether it's using a bit of lens whacking or I'm just going, let me do a tracking shot that I've never done before. I think it's an interesting format, especially the way that I shoot films, that every project is like I've never done it before. It's a new approach, it's a new technique here and there.
And you say film, obviously film as an actual physical thing is on the decline. Do you still have an affinity for film? Do you think that it's kind of superior to digital, or do you not care? Or
I think the line between it being superior to, as in film being superior to digital, I think that has changed over the years. I mean, Scorsese has talked recently about the line between film. Perfect I think Scorsese talked about the line between film and digital has changed throughout the recent times. Christopher Nolan has talked a lot about how film is still effective today and how he's a definite proponent of that. For myself, being a young filmmaker, film is expensive. When I was a student at university, I did find it difficult to get my hand on 16mm, but it's still somewhere that I'd love to sort of explore, and something that I love as well. Working with Arri Alexa, for example, is a great digital format. Working with Red Epic is a great thing as well. DSLRs, especially the films that I make, have been using DSLRs, but that doesn't necessarily make me elitist and go, film is better than this medium. It's whatever project demands of you and obviously everyone else.
And so are you, excuse me, do you mainly direct or produce or write? Or
it's a mishmash of everything. I mean, I like to think that I'm a jack of all trades and master of none, and I love DOP, I love working with the cameras, I love editing. That's where I really started when I went into films, to start editing. However, direction is a natural byproduct of working on small productions. You can't pay everyone, so learning a lot of skill sets makes me an invaluable member of the team. So if I know editing, if I know lighting design, if I know choreography of scenes, then I sort of make myself invaluable to the team. So naturally that gives a strong leadership aspect, and then I do turn out to be a director. But whether or not I finish my career as that, I don't know yet.
And kind of, if you've got any advice for your peers or people just starting out, I mean, what's the simplest advice you would give to people?
I remember looking at a lot of blogs and tutorials for people saying exactly the same sort of thing. What makes a great filmmaker, or what's the best advice? I think in my world at this point in time, the best thing I can say is artistic integrity is a lot. It means a hell of a lot, and you have, I think it was Ira Glass that said, your taste will get you through a hell of a lot, and you will be rubbish for the first few years of your career. So fight through that and rely on your taste to mediate how good your project's going to be. So go out and make some films and rely that your work is going to be good enough to stand on the set at some point.
So let's actually go out and do something.
Go out and do something, yeah.
Could you just tell us how you said you started off acting? How did you end up in how did you get into acting, and how did you end up making films?
Originally, I started out with Sam with Trash Arts. I now work with a team called Slam Screen, but I work with lots of different types of filmmakers. I'm not really sort of pigeonholed in one particular area. But when I started out as an actor, I worked with contemporary plays, I worked with Shakespeare, I worked with everything, and I think I enjoyed the process of just being involved in acting. And when I went behind the camera, I realised that acting, by extension, was also directing performance. And so directing performance moved on to direction, and direction of photography is capturing that performance in the best way possible. So I think all of those elements came together to what film is for me.
And your setup, as you got now, Slam Screen, because I don't know. This is quite good because I'm interested to know about your setup anyway. Is it your thing? Are you the main man?
Well, no. I mean, I joined the contingent with two men, Chris Hale and Ben Slem Mitchell. Chris Hale was the marketing guy. He's now moved on to different projects. Ben Slem Mitchell, he sort of recruited me 2 years ago and said, "Do you want to make some films in the local area in Portsmouth?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. You know, I know nothing about film, but let me see what's going on."
Oh, so you pretty much were acting and then got involved with that?
Yeah, I mean, I worked with Sam for a few years. I sort of stood behind the camera, helping running, learning the trade, basically from well behind the camera, sort of assistant editor and assistant camera operator. And then only in the last 2 years have I sort of gone into a managerial position of film. So.
Did you have a big fallout with Sam over something?
I would say it was a big fallout, and it was to do with direction in the way of approaching film. I wanted to go down more artistic routes, and Sam didn't really appreciate the way that I was looking to make one project a year, and he wanted to make multiple projects. I mean, there are great ways of making projects, and in my mind, I feel that spending 10 months on a project is the way I
So you're definitely the school of a more traditional way of working, rather than let's take a week off work, just bash it out.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to talk about my latest projects, Hannah I wrote took 9 months, myself and John McGinty, who I work with. It took us 10 months to develop the concept, and then it was 4 months of pre-production, and now we're in sort of 6 months worth of post-production. So we really enjoy a long stint for any sort of project that we go through.
So what are you living off?
What am I living off?
Yeah.
Corporate projects.
Okay, so you're doing that regular.
Yeah, sort of in between. In the meantime, that gives us the time, the breadth to sort of work on these fictional projects.
Do you mind if I ask what sort of corporate projects, what local businesses?
Anything from local business, so like sort of a window cleaner, to a corporate business looking for a testimonial. So it will be somewhere in London going, oh, this is a particular project, we want some talking heads basically. And yeah, we record that.
Stuff for the websites? Or
yeah, website content mostly.
Yeah, okay. Alright, okay. Yeah, that was pretty good. Sorry, I hope it's okay if I ask about it.
No, go for it, yeah. I mean,
I don't really know you a lot, so I feel like I can probably get away with asking questions.
You can go any way you want. I'm pretty much transparent.
One other question I was asking Sam is, I'm probably more interested in the reality of production reality, as in, I gave an example. The first time I ever turned up and worked with Mike, the first day, I had in my head there was all this glamorous stuff in my head and the way it was going to be. I don't know where that came from. But I walked into this guy's flat, and the guy who was the lead actor was eating like a plate of overcooked pasta with sultana sprinkled on it. I don't know, that was just to kind of signify that this wasn't a high budget project. Well, I knew in my head it wasn't a high budget project, but I just had delusions of grandeur about all these, the way
some catering.
I was going to create these amazing scenes out of, a few bits of cardboard and some, like homemade blood, and so we're talking real base level budgets. I'm just wondering how do your productions go bear in mind, I've got no idea. I'm not sure if I did see that thing you made with. It's like Sleeping Beauty or something. I think is that.
Oh, Hero's Journey was it?
It was like it was a bit like a Robin. It gave me the feeling of a Robin Hood. That
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
type thing.
It's sort of like a fantasy epic type thing.
So, thinking that you work over a longer period of time, do you get funding before you start filming and film with a proper crew? You know, so you said you work differently to probably how we've done a few things and probably the way Sam done things, where maybe rounds up a few friends. Do you wait till you get funding to do a project properly, or do you just go for it and fund it with whatever you can?
I think it's changed over the course of my career. I think originally when I started making films, I was looking for bargain basement stuff, like let's get this production going on like 20 quid, and let's go around a friend's house and let's go get some pasta that we've got for like £2 from Tesco's.
Okay. This is the stuff
But
definitely interested in that sort of thing. So, yeah.
now, for our last film, Hannah, we did our talent search. We looked for months and months looking for these things. We held auditions.
Yeah.
And when I say auditions, I mean these because there's ballet involved in the film. We looked for particular skill sets, so it wasn't just, hey, that girl looks good, or that's a friend of mine. It was, this particular person has the skill set and has done really well in the audition. Particularly with that film, we rented out the apartment in Gunwolf. We looked for the best apartment, so number one Gunwolf. We spent thousands of pounds on our production, not because we had the money, but because we went, this film deserves to be given the time and the effort. And it does take 9 months to raise that sort of fund from your own pocket. So we obviously.
And so you're purely funding this from your commercial projects.
Yeah, I mean we've just started doing crowdfunding. Our last crowdfunding went very well, and it sort of helped us with half production. So it really helped with family, friends, sort of giving us sort of £1,000 worth of their time and effort.
And what about marketing? Once you finish the project, what are you trying to do with the film once you finished it? And what are you doing
with the last couple of films, A Hero's Journey, the one that we might have seen, that particular film, we knew that we were going for awards, we were going for national success, or at least acclaim for certain people to look at the film and go, these guys have made this film with 2 people on set. And you're talking about production schedules and talking about people on production. We tend to have a very, very small crew. When I talk small crew, I talk, let's say, 3 people, camera operator, direction, and someone operating the sound. But these people are people I trust and are very skilled and are very, very good at what they do. So sound man Isaac Ray, he's an excellent sound man. I've now got myself to the position where I've sort of taught myself over the last 2 years how to camera operate, and also I know how to edit. So I sort of take up that corner of the market in our film. And John, he's excellent at pre-production and also marketing. So we have got a whole massive team that post and actually pre-production as well on set. So I think, in terms of what you're talking about, we are those guys that have sultanas and pasta on our particular piece of food or whatever.
But you've learned because you've worked before you. It seems like you've done some projects before you even had any funding at all. Because what I'm really talking about is zero budget movies where you've got nothing. But because you've had that experience of working with nothing, now at least you know that you've got a regular income that you can sort of over time put. It's just how much money you need, like for accommodation of actors and stuff. That would be the main reason why when we've done stuff we've kept it short, because the longer you have the actors around, you've got to put them up, feed them, and if you've got even 2 or 3 people, it starts to build up. So because you've done stuff before, I'm not sure whether that was with Sam, where you were really working on toast and maybe whatever you could grab. Maybe you're more frugal, where even though you are spending money, you're doing things properly, but you understand you don't need a huge crew that's just going to waste loads of money. And you are eating pasta and sultanas.
I think
because that's somewhere where you can save money, isn't it?
No, I definitely agree. I mean, that definitely helps. I think now as well, where I am in my career, I can actually scale back so much more than I thought I could. Like before, I was going, I've got to get an Arri Alexa, I've got to get this prime lens, I've got to get this lighting guide to do all these things. Well, actually, if I use this 50mm that I borrowed off a friend and this lamp, it will look as good
Yeah.
if I manage to colour correct it correctly, if I know how to use those things. And it is experience, and it is down to hundreds of hours of research. And I think that's probably the saddening thing about local filmmakers and filmmakers across the country, is that idealisation of film is sometimes stopping them from making film.
And actually, you're right when you say, well, I agree with you when you say you just got to get on with it, because, well, Mike's filming on that iPhone, but
Which is a great phone, actually.
it's not geared.
Good phone.
It's not geared.
Don't like
That's going
camera.
it's not geared that's going to stop you from making something, is it? That's the thing. It's not. I mean, gear. Good gear is good, and definitely helps. But whether that matters in terms of. So yeah,
Well,
that's
it
one
depends what the production is, doesn't it? I mean, one example I always think of is Senna, where it's made up of like loads of standard definition video, but because it's about Senna,
Yeah.
it's it's kind of immaterial that it's like a cinema screen projecting VHS quality.
So we were just one last thing. We were talking earlier on because I think we're talking about this stuff now because it's raising questions as to why we bother doing things. And we're a bit older and we're pretty grumpy and moany anyway. So we were talking about. I was quizzing Sam last time we were down here, and he said, got to get things on YouTube and Twitter it and whatever. But there's so many people. Everyone's making films, putting films on, especially short films. So, I don't know what you said. You've got a marketing guy, but I think I did just ask you this, what the ultimate aim is. But I mean, obviously you believe in the projects and you're putting a lot of effort into it. But what would you like to happen with them, and how do you think you could break through the noise of so many people saying, "Look at my film, look at my film. I've got." I've got mine played at the Cheltenham Festival and mine's played here. How do you break through? Because there seems to be, only in my eyes, I think I'm probably the only person that seems like this, but I'm amazed at the people I've met who are making films on zero budget, but they seem to be very much outside even the low budget film industry people. It's almost like an underclass of people. I'm not necessarily putting you in that, but there does seem to be a bunch of people. They're the people I'm interested in, why they keep making films when there may be a quality issue, maybe they're not good enough, but it's kind of quite cool in a way that people are making feature films on just what they can get hold of. But it does seem to be, there seems to be like the film industry and then the shorts and low budget films that surround that, and people that sort of work in some pro jobs and then do some stuff for free. But then there's a whole bunch of people who are just sort of people who are just making things, who haven't necessarily worked on big paid projects. They've just fallen into, because digital's made it easier for everyone to make film. Sorry.
What was the question, Mike?
I've lost it. I think what I was trying to say is, how do you see busting through that?
Well, maybe. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? If your master plan works out, 10, 15 years' time, what's your sort of ultimate goal?
If I was to just talk about myself, about where I'm being, I can't talk about the guys in Slam Screen where they want to go. For myself, I would love to be in any part of the film industry. I'm talking even as a runner. As long as the productions that were being made were quality, were fantastic. If I was making the next Edgar Wright film or the Joe Wright film, and I was just the guy helping out, that set designer.
So you'd make the coffee on the set.
I would love that. If I was making films like Anna Karenina or Atonement, any of those kind of films, I'd be like, I'm happy to be there. King's Speech, you're looking at these really, really high quality films. But even so, I would love to just be that guy that was involved in those productions. And maybe that's different from everyone else. Maybe they want their name out there. Maybe they want to get £1 million.
That's kind of what I was getting at. That's what I was interested in.
Yeah, for me, if I can be making great films and I can earn an okay living, I'm not talking about millions of pounds, I'm talking about enough to sustain myself, like a car, wife, kids, the standard things that people want. I want those things, but I want to be involved in great productions. I think I need that to fulfil myself in life.
So you said at the beginning that it's important. Film's a good way of telling stories, but as long as the story's good, it doesn't necessarily have to be your story.
No.
Okay.
At this point in time, it happens to be my stories because I don't have a lot of faith in everyone.
Yeah.
I only have faith in a small amount
But
of
if
people.
you meet someone, if you met
Who's-
someone
yeah.
who's generally you read their script, or
Most definitely,
Then
most
you're
definitely.
like,
I would love to
yeah,
take
yeah,
less
yeah.
responsibility for myself. I would love that.
it's interesting. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
It's good just to have a little, few bits we can cut some stuff.
Now, hopefully, I gave